Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I am so excited to welcome back to the show George Wiseman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and it's very, very good to be back here. I really enjoy this platform, and
Thank
the
you.
name of it. It just gets me every single time. Beautifully broken. It's
Yeah,
like God's gift to us. We just we're not perfect.
that's right. That's right. And I find as the show's gone on and we're, in February, we're year 7. And to ask every guest, like, what does it mean to you to be beautifully broken? And hear all these different beautiful answers. The pain I find comes from wanting life to be something other than it is. That this experience that we're given, and as co-creators of our own reality, it's very painful. There is hardship, there is loss, there's grief, but it's how we manage that, and we do that with our best aptitude and our best abilities. That's when the beauty comes, when we navigate it with grace. It's so interesting to me, and it just keeps coming. A lot of the conversation and the marketing, which I hate in our space. I hate the marketing. I hate miracle language around any of it, because I'm sure you've heard this, right? It's like people must come to you, which we're going to talk about Brown's gas and hydrogen and molecular hydrogen, electronically expanded water, that they want to like remove the thing that they're suffering from. And we want it to be just a device sometimes. We want it to be like, oh, this is going to be it for me, right? And it's just a tool in that toolbox. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, George.
That is well said. Obviously, you've been doing this a long time. Yes, there is no panacea. There's no one size fits all. I do see that the people that are searching find me one way or another, or they're looking for answers, and we provide one of the possible answers, kind of thing. And I do want to help everyone. I do want to put hydrogen, preferably Brown's gas, in every home in the world. It would be my goal at this particular time. And I'm an alternative energy researcher. I also have my dream is to put free energy in every home. But God has directed me on this particular path, and I have a whole story about that as well, my Jonah story. But the point is, we are really helping people find answers, and this is one answer. It's not the answer, although in some particular cases, and there's a particular video online about this young woman in her 20s who developed cancer. I'm just giving an example, and she was looking for an answer. She her fiance lives in Australia, and she lived in California, so 2 continents apart in their particular situation. Her fiance's father rented an AquaCure from an Australian affiliate that I have down there. And in fact, he didn't have any for rent. He actually rented out his own personal machine because the father was begging for it, pleading for it, maybe a better word. And Dave is very compassionate. In any case, they put this young woman on the Brown's gas. To back up a step, she had one of the worst cancers, most malignant in the world. She had been at that point given about 2 weeks to live. And she, and of course, she's very spiritual, and she was praying for an answer. And her father-in-law got this particular machine to her. She just jumped right on it, did like I'm doing here, just full bore, sleeping with it, so getting at least 8 hours a day on it. And she changed her entire life. So it wasn't just the Brown's gas. She gives Brown's gas a lot of credit, but she changed everything, got all toxins out of her body, like a lot of detox, a lot of doing things naturally and stuff. By the way, it had started as breast cancer and had metastasized right through to her spine. So her spine was actually growing cancer bone, and they wanted to do a major surgery, which would have left her like being a quadriplegic. So she accepted a minor surgery, And that was it as far as oncology was concerned. No chemo, no radiation, no aggressive surgery, anything. She went 100% natural, and with the Brown's gas. So, uh, long story short, if you watch the video, it's very inspirational. She's an amazing woman. Um, uh, 1 year later, she's crying. She has in the video where she's doing what she calls ugly crying, because she's waving the papers as she's being driven away from the hospital. 100% cancer free.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. But
Amazing.
as you pointed out, this is just one tool, and it isn't necessarily the tool or combination put in a combination that the particular person needs. You have to go with your heart. You have to make your best choices, and and we've been helping a lot of people, and it does generally help people, even if it isn't the answer for whatever particular ailment the person is looking for. It usually helps.
That's right.
Um, there's over 2,000 scientific studies now. They find virtually no negative side effects to the hydrogen, and um, almost 100% positive. In fact, every time they test it for a new ailment, it does help that ailment, but then in the side effects, it helps a whole bunch of other things around the body as well. It's pretty amazing. So yes,
Amazing.
you make a good point. There is no one size fits all. This isn't what we're saying. And to support that, we have a 1 year satisfaction guarantee. Nobody else does that.
Yeah.
Where you get your money back if it isn't doing what you expect, if you aren't getting what you think your money's worth, or you don't like the paint color.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The paint,
It
paint
doesn't
color is
matter.
the best.
No questions asked, because we want every machine out there to be working for someone. If you're not using it, we'd rather get it back, give you your money back, and get it out to somebody else who can.
Man, amazing. That really, I mean, that ethos, it makes my heart open when I hear that people get a 1 year guarantee. George, I'm going to point people back to episode 142, which we recorded shockingly November 21st, 2022. I cannot believe that. It feels like we talked 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
It does.
It's really wild how time unfolds so quickly. But go back and listen to, I want people to listen to your story. I want people to hear the origin story of Brown's gas. But for these people who have not heard episode 1 and we're just jumping in, what is the AquaCure, and what is the, let's just say, let's do a definition around Brown's gas to start.
Yes. Okay. A lot of people are hearing, because I'm going to say it's now being a fad, about hydrogen for health.
That's
And
right. It is it is very big right now.
it's getting out there. I rode the beginning of the wave of it. If you listen to the origin story, you'll understand how my customers convinced me to be using Brown's gas for health and on like that. So the people are going to realize there's a lot of different ways. In fact, there's 9 different modalities that I know to get hydrogen into a person's body besides the normal one. And so we're looking at hydrogen. Brown's gas is what I call the next generation of hydrogen for health, because it not only has the hydrogen, all the hydrogen you therapeutically need, and that's what a lot of people out there are saying, if a little is more, if a little is good, more is better. That is not
Yeah.
true. There's several reasons why, and we can come back to that later if necessary. But
Yes.
the therapeutic volume of hydrogen needs to be met, and after that, the rest is just a waste and could even be dangerous. So getting up to what Brown's gas is, back in the early 90s, I was building electrolyzers that were over efficient, Faraday equation efficient. In other words, for a certain amount of amperage in an electrolyzer that's splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen, you should get a certain amount of gas. And that has been known for hundreds of years. But I was getting more gas than that. Significantly more gas than that. Couldn't be like a mathematical error or experimental error. And I was very careful with my experiments, because I was experimenting to find the most efficient way to split water. Well, it turns out I not only found so far the most efficient way to split water in normal electrolysis, but I discovered in 1996 that I was generating a third gas. Beyond oxygen and hydrogen, there was this electrically expanded water. And that was, so you get hydrogen off the cathode and oxygen off the anode, And in between, right in the middle, and I have pictures on the websites and stuff so people can see this, a line of gas solid enough to almost be like a plate, like an electrode, coming right out of the middle of the fluid. And that was the extra gas. So I was still, the Faraday laws weren't broken. It turns out that that gas is still water, H2O. It's not separated into hydrogen and oxygen. So it's not part of the Faraday equations, but even though it's coming out as an extra volume of gas. Well, all that was interesting, but it turns out that that electrically expanded water was what was giving Brown's gas more effect than just pure hydrogen. Back in the days when I was selling fuel savers and also building what I call water torches, where we were using Brown's gas to replace acetylene in oxyacetylene torches, and it could do everything acetylene could do better and at 2% of the cost. So it was pretty incredible. Now, on the flip side, an oxyacetylene outfit is like $150 or $250, and these machines were like a few $1,000s. So you had to be using a lot of gas to justify getting it, or build your own. I have books out there like Brown's Gas Book 2, where people can literally build their own large volume for less than $1,000. They can build an experimental version of the Brown's Gas machine. Okay, so Brown's gas has 6 different constituents. It does have monatomic oxygen and monatomic hydrogen, but only a little bit. In my Brown's Gas book 1, I theorized it had quite a lot to justify this extra gas, but it isn't so. If we do a spectrographic analysis, we do see that there's a tiny little bit of monatomic hydrogen and oxygen, which shouldn't exist, but it does. Then the major portion of the gas is H2, or pure diatomic hydrogen. And then there's the O2, which is the diatomic oxygen, which is the normal gases that you would see in electrolysis. And then you have water as water vapor. Anytime you have water in a glass or anything, there's some water vapor hanging around. So you've got that water vapor coming off exuding off the gases, with the gases as well. But then you have a different form of water. And this is what we call the electrically expanded water. It's water that has soaked up electrons in the electrolysis process until it became energized enough to become a gaseous form of water that is not water vapor or steam. This is plasma, a cold plasma form of water. It's a negatively charged, because of the extra electrons, cold plasma form of water. So I'm inhaling all 6 of those gases now with the Brown's gas. Now, what the electrically expanded water, it really helped when you're doing the combusting of fuel as a fuel saver, because it increased the energetic value, the catalyst and all of that. It increased the efficiency of combustion. And when you're using it in a torch, that extra electrons helped oxidize the steel even better, faster, cleaner, like a laser. It's incredible. So in the body, those electrons are bioavailable and do 1,000 different things. But one thing it does, mainly, it helps stop inflammation. It stops oxidative cascade, which is where if your body doesn't have enough electrons, then some molecule may grab an electron from something else, but then that thing doesn't have enough electrons, and so it grabs an electron from something else. So they call that oxidative cascade. And it helps the body heal any oxidative damage. We need oxygen to live. Like a few minutes without oxygen, we're dead. But it's an oxidizer. It literally is burning. And if the burn isn't controlled in your body, then you get damage. So your body knows how to control the oxygen, but it does that mainly with the electrons and hydrogen. Well, Brown's gas has all of that. It also gets rid of things like a cytokine storm. So during this last pandemic, when they were going to be putting people on ventilators, because and particularly this is over in China, Brown's gas was the #1 treatment for the pandemic in China, and in 2 months they were back in full business. 2 years we were still struggling, okay, because we were putting people who had blood oxygen levels down at 70 instead of almost 195 to 100, and theoretically shouldn't have even have been conscious, but they were still cognitive, even though their blood oxygen levels were down at 70. But they put these people on ventilators, and usually within a few days they would die, because that particular virus wasn't a lung virus. which the doctors assumed because the people's oxygen levels were so low. It was a blood virus. Well, what it was doing is kicking the heme or iron or ferritin, whatever you want to call it, out of the red blood cells. And then the red blood cells, even though they were circulating in the body, couldn't grab onto oxygen in the lungs. So as soon as the people started inhaling with the Brown's gas, within 5 minutes, their blood oxygen levels started coming back up because the electrons that they were inhaling would attach to the iron that was still in the red blood cells, increase its efficiency at grabbing oxygen, and their oxygen levels would start to come back up. No ventilator needed. Within 3 days, walking out of the hospital completely, I'm going to say cured, mitigated, whatever you want to say, healed. No longer having the symptoms of the virus. So that's how dramatic it can be. But, and then just if people look at my the things that happened with me, and I was expecting none of it. When I started inhaling the gas, I just simply did it because I wanted to. I always experiment myself and on myself before I recommend anything to anyone. And my customers were telling me the various things that they were, the ones that were experimenting with it, achieving, including a guy who had cured a melanoma on his forehead within 3 weeks' time. And so I started to inhale just to prove it was safe, because I knew it was safe if you inhale at a certain value, which was under 2% in your intake breath. You want your hydrogen, no matter where your hydrogen's coming from. Doesn't matter if it's Brown's gas or one of the other machines that make pure hydrogen. You don't want more than 2% hydrogen going into your intake in your intake breath, because once your body's blood is saturated, you will be exhaling any excess hydrogen, just like you normally do, which I'll just quickly say, your normal hydrogen comes from your food. You eat hydrocarbons, your digestive system splits the carbon and hydrogen apart. The hydrogen goes into your bloodstream. If there's more hydrogen than your body needs, you exhale it, just like exhaling excess carbon dioxide. So we aren't getting the hydrogen that we need because our digestive systems have been decimated. And there's many reasons why. I'll just leave it at that. I talked about it before. So we are inhaling the hydrogen in order to get back to health. And I kind of got off my track there because there was several other things that all fit together there. So I'll just simply say, if you don't have enough hydrogen, your body starts to shut down extraneous systems it doesn't immediately need. The first one to go is your regeneration system. So you get scars, like your skin just patches instead of actually healing. If you still don't have enough hydrogen, your immune systems start to go because they're not immediately life-threatening. And then if you still don't have enough hydrogen, your organs will start to fail. So when you get enough hydrogen, your organs heal. Like my heart, I had a heart murmur for over 50 years. It's gone. I've been to several examinations now because my wife has me go at least once a year. And I don't have a heart murmur anymore, but I had it most of my life. I no longer wear glasses. My eyesight healed and that sort of thing. Anyway, my organs healed, including my skin, because not only did my immune systems come back online, I don't get sick. I haven't been sick since 2005 when I started drinking the Brown's gas water. And then since 2016, I've been inhaling. But my immune systems came back online. And then after I started to inhale, my skin healed, like all the scars on my body. I usually can try to show people one that is right there. I see it right there. There's a place where my skin bends in about a 1/2 inch a square there. That's where I used to have a scar.
Yeah.
And scars like on the tip of this finger, you can see it's misshapen. It looks like a bit of a heart there. It's not flat anymore. There was a scar on the front of that finger. I mashed that one with a 4-pound mallet. It was quite spectacular, but the finger is still misshapen, but no scar. My arthritis is completely gone. I have full functionality and strength in all my fingers. Just one little click in this one, and that's in that joint, and that's it. Left.
Yeah.
So in any case, you want no more than 2% going in, because once your body has enough hydrogen and you're exhaling, you'll exhale any excess. And if your exhale breath has more than 4%, some people say 4.7, but let's say 4.7% hydrogen, it's potentially combustible. And you don't want that. There's been several people doing things like smoking while inhaling hydrogen, okay? And they get an explosion.
Yeah.
And if it was to go down into the lungs, that would be really bad.
Yeah.
So far with these particular people, it would just go in their sinuses and then back into the and backfire down in the tubes kind of thing, which that's all designed to handle it. But the point is, you get a therapeutic. It's scientifically, with thousands of studies, proven 2% inhalation gives you a therapeutic level and is safe because you're not going to have the combustible coming out. Now, if a person goes to 3% instead of 2%, let's just say, and work out the math, so you have 3% coming in, and if you only need 1% because your blood is now saturated, you only need 1% to maintain the saturation. Now you have 2% coming out. That's 5%, which is over the 4.7% lower combustible limit of hydrogen in air, plus you have the hydrogen coming out of this at the same time at 3%. Now you're at 8% of the of gas coming out. You are definitely having a combustible mixture there. So this is part of the safety thing. When you're looking for the various options out there, make sure that first you're getting a therapeutic mixture. You're going to get the 2% in your inhaled breath. And there's people that lie about that. There's one particular hydrogen machine out there that makes, I think it's 40 milliliters per minute instead of 120, which gives you the therapeutic value. And he did a really weird thing to prove he's making 120 when he's not making anything close to that. And so you get the scams that are too low. Now they're obviously safe because you'll never get a combustible limit, but but you're not getting the therapeutic value either. Whereas our AquaCure has it so that you can adjust the amount of gas coming out to every single body, to optimize it for every single body. So down to an infant, up to a 300-pound man or person, you can adjust the AquaCure to optimize the amount of gas that you're inhaling. So and the other side is you don't get too much. You don't want to get inhaling. Now, the external applications where you're cupping on a particular spot. That was another thing. My immune system's got rid of all my hand warts. I had hand warts since I was a kid, and they are a virus. And for over 50 years, my body didn't get rid of them. And yet, when I started to inhale in a relatively short time, they were all gone. So scars, warts, all that kind of stuff. So the external applications, you can pretty much have any amount of hydrogen you want. It'll absorb through the skin. One particularly dramatic thing that happens is if people have carpal tunnel syndrome. Very, very painful. You put a glove on, one of these long gloves, like it covers a cast or something like that when you're going to go shower, and or even a bread bag, and put the gas in there. Then the gas will penetrate right through the skin and take care of the inflammation of the tendon sheath within minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, carpal tunnel's gone. It's fantastic. So I've covered a whole bunch of things. Was there any?
No, it's all great, George. I just want to go back and just a couple things I just want to mention is that we've talked about this before, is that we have microbiomes within each body, which is very individual. And I think I would have a working theory. This is why people have different outcomes with some of these devices, because you can be a methane dominant producer within your gut, which is not great for longevity. It's not great for health. It's horrible for transit time of food. This is usually our really bad constipated individuals. And then we can have this hydrogen, right? Hydrogen, and there is a hydrogen breath test that people will do. And that's one way to determine if we've got a lot of bad bacteria in the gut. If you drink a sugar solution and you're burping all this, they're going to measure how much hydrogen, how much methane. And so you can have this small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, which is really reflective of this internal milieu. So there's things that we can do as far as like nutrition, transit time of the gut, minding our stress every single day, because we have this natural wave that moves through food throughout the body, right? And so I just want to remind everybody that we do have this internal mechanism and this microbiota that makes hydrogen. You know, this is part of my design. So what we're doing here with some of these different devices is we're supplementing, right, where we're deficient. The thing I want to touch on, George, you mentioned a couple times, is there's Brown's gas, which has this now, this is kind of new to me conversation, this 6 different type of gases that we're breathing in. And then we've got just molecular hydrogen. And I think this is where it gets confusing for people, because you get online and say, well, I can take hydrogen tablets, or I can do the hydrogen water bottles, or now what is this Brown's gas thing? And I want to offer 2 things here for people. The Brown's gas, from my understanding, is we have the ability to donate electrons, extra electrons. And hydrogen, from my understanding, works without, it's a selective antioxidant without donating electrons. So they're very different. It's almost, from my experience, it's almost hard to compare them. I think there's use cases for breathing really high concentrate hydrogen, in which there are some really good case studies. Is even a standalone cancer treatment coming out of Japan that Tyler LeBaron has looked at a little bit. And then there's this other piece of like donating electrons is like, that's like your vitamin C. So we're getting a very different therapy. It is tough to compare them. I will tell you before you answer this question, and I just want to go in, what are we talking about here? What's the difference? When I breathe the hydrogen gas, and now when I do the micro bubbler, and 3 friends have mirrored this exactly. They said, what is the tingling in my hands? I feel energy in my hands and feet. And that's one thing where if I put a bag on, like you said, and I sub the cannula in there and I let it fill up with, I'll have this big bag around my arm. If I'm treating a scar or a spot or a sore wrist or something, I feel tingly everywhere. That doesn't happen when I do hydrogen water, or I don't feel anything. I feel the tingling and the energy from the Brown's gas specifically. And so what is happening there? How are those things different?
Okay. Wow, so many different things. And bring me back if I get too far off track.
I
Um,
will.
Another thing that okay, so first of all, when you are have an ailment, generally speaking, the body has used up its energy reserves, and its energy generation systems have become compromised, especially with
Mm-hmm.
severe ailments. But even relatively minor chronic stuff, the body's doing the best it can with what it gets, and it's still putting some things aside. And one of the things that I learned, or had happened to me with the healing of my skin and stuff, is I had neuropathies. I'd literally lost the feeling in the palm of my left hand
Mm-hmm.
and in the shins, my shins of both legs, from my knees to my feet. Zero feeling, total numbness. And when I started to inhale, those nerves healed. I was able to, they regenerated. I have full feeling back in my hand. I was thinking I was going to lose the use of my left hand because it was getting number and number, and my legs I was getting so I couldn't feel them. And I was worried about that. Totally healed. So I'm thinking the tingling could be directly related to the nerves getting the hydrogen and electrons that they need directly. So one of the things about the hydrogen bubble bath that we're talking about right here, micro bubbles in the water that you're bathing in, is that it's what I call an exterior application. There's 4 protocols that are currently out there. There's another couple that are coming, but 4 that are out there right now. You've got your inhalation of the gas, but then you can also apply the gas externally. You've got your drinking of the hydrogen-rich water, or you can apply the water externally. Now, applying the water externally was the way that several people have gotten rid of melanomas. And also, there was one guy who got rid of it in the same amount of time using a shower cap over his head. He had a large area about here on his, it's on the website. I have pictures of a melanoma, and he just put the gas in there. So you've got your external treatments and your internal treatments. When you inhale the gas or drink the water, your body decides where it goes and what gets addressed. And if you apply it externally, like the bag for carpal tunnel, you decide, because you're putting it on there and it has to go through that area. Now, of course, one of the first things when you're inhaling that gets treated is your lungs. So people with COPD and various lung ailments and a lot of scar tissue and stuff, that starts to resolve first because it's the first contact. But once it gets in your bloodstream, the body's deciding where it goes. And that brings me to another really important thing about the electrically expanded water that pure hydrogen cannot do and is vitally important. And that has to do with easy water. Are you familiar with Gerald Pollack and easy water?
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit.
Okay, so I call it easy gel, and I've talked with him about it. We're acquaintances, and I might even say friends. So because we've done quite a lot of work, including he's had me 3 times talking at his water conferences, and during the first conference that I talked at, he was in the front row. And after I gave my presentation and Q&A, he stood up and he says, everything, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's what we're talking about with this one-shot panacea type thing. Mm-hmm. He says, but I work with this easy gel. He calls it easy water or structured water. But I call it easy gel just for definition because it's a gel. It's not water. It's H3O2 negative. It's not H2O. It's H3O2. You don't call H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide, water. So this isn't water, and it's in a gel form. So I call it easy gel. And it should have been that from the start, but things get misnamed, and then it just carries on. Okay. So the easy gel, he says, what does the Brown's gas do to the easy layer of when water touches a hydrophilic surface? It automatically and spontaneously forms this easy gel. And he says, if you have Brown's gas, what happens? Well, this happened to be then during the pandemic time, so it took a couple, 3 years to finish all the testing and stuff. But in the end, we discovered that if you put oxygen in the water, the easy gel increases a little bit. You can see it in an electron microscope. It's a little bit, a fraction, a percent. But if you put hydrogen in the water, nothing happens. The easy gel isn't affected at all. If you put Brown's gas in the water, the minimum increase in the easy gel was 300%, 3 times. And if you continue doing it over a period of time, I did it over months of time, the gel layer reaches a thickness that you can see with your eyes. You don't even have to have an electron microscope. So we're talking thousands of times increase in the easy gel. Okay, why is that important? If you research Gerald Pollack and this water, this easy water or structured water, you'll start to get some clues. But to zone right in on it, everything in our body is hydrophilic, okay, water loving. And so everything in our body has this gel around it. And that solves 3 medical mysteries. First of all, our hearts do not produce enough pressure to push the blood through all the thousands, hundreds of thousands of miles of capillaries in our body. Second, even if it did, hydrodynamically speaking, fluid always flows the path of least resistance. Why does the blood flow all the way out to the tip of my head, to the tips of my fingers, to the tips of my toes, evenly, instead of just going the path of least resistance back to the heart and not going to the extremities? Okay. And third, how come a red blood cell, which is twice the size of the capillaries, able to slide through a capillary, just instead of just plugging it up like a cork? There's three mysteries, all solved by this same thing. Which I will now say the second thing that Gerald Pollack discovered was Professor Gerald Pollack, Jerry to his friends. If you have a tube small enough that's hydrophilic, it will spontaneously start to flow water with no pump. No pump. This is absolutely worth. He should be getting Nobel Peace Prize for these sort of things. And he keeps getting it's just crazy. No water-based life form on the planet. No planet. No plant. No fish. No reptile. No mammal. No trees. Nothing. No plant. Nothing can survive without this effect. When you have a capillary small enough, the water flows spontaneously. It's why water can flow from the roots of a redwood tree 150 feet into the air to the leaves of the redwood tree to bring minerals and nutrients up as far as it needs to go. Theoretically, if it was just transpiration, which they say the leaf is evaporating water, so it creates a suction, which then pulls the water up from the roots. No, I'm not saying that doesn't assist, but the point is, trees even start flowing fluids in the spring before they even have their leaves out, in order for the leaves to come out. So obviously, that's not the thing. But now in our bodies, we have the heart producing maybe a psi of pressure. Okay, they have these inches of mercury measurements that make it seem pretty high, like 120 or whatever the case may be, 80 over 120 over 80 kind of thing. But really, that's only operating in the 1 to 1.5 psi range. It's very low pressure. And so all the heart has to do is get the blood to the capillaries, and the capillaries actually do the blood pumping in your body, which is why you can get blood flow evenly to all your extremities, and why the heart doesn't need to have 100 or 200 psi pressure.
Yeah.
And then as far as the red blood cells go, going through the capillaries, the inner part of the capillaries is all with this EZ gel, and a gel is very slippery, but it's also negatively charged. It's H3O2 negative, okay? And that negative charge repels the negative charge of the EZ gel around the red blood cell. So you have not only a gel, but two negative charges which repel each other. So it's almost frictionless.
Yep.
And so the red blood cell can squeeze into a sausage shape and slide right through that capillary,
right.
which has now got the power to push it through on its own. And those are three medical mysteries that this solves. So the Brown's gas does something that regular hydrogen cannot do, and that increases the efficacy of making the EZ gel in the body.
Thank you. I think that's from now. I want to offer everybody at home something too. If you wanted to have a real life example of this, grab two magnets, put the positive ends together, and push them across the table. We're saying the net negative charge on the net positive charge on the outside of a cell. We're pushing these against each other, and they're moving throughout the body because of the pushback from each little charged red blood cell. Every surface in the body, the mitochondria, the fascia, collagen, capillaries, and cell membranes, they're all, like George was saying, they're all hydrophilic. And this is not alternative medicine. This is known. This is the research of easy water, which ironically, George, and this will get me in another thing, is like, this year in August, I lost my whole YouTube channel. 10 years of videos, 600 videos, hundreds of hours of content stuff. Now, it's not the podcast, but it was one of those things, just heartbreaking, right? It's like two things. It's heartbreaking and it's life. It's the reality of impermanence. I was really frustrated. It was about, the audience knows this. I talked about a substance called Ag404, which is a silver charged particle, which again has this great electron conversation, and it can neutralize lots of stuff in the body. They said that was medical misinformation and said I was harmful to YouTube, so they pulled me down. Very similar conversation. You cannot use the word structured water. I want everybody to just hear the wildness of this world. This also is a term that will get you flagged. And I've seen it happen to companies. So people develop different terms. They're like, well, the fourth phase of water, or water that impacts protein folding. It's the same conversation, which has been dictated in the scientific literature, but there are flag words out there because for whatever reason, people don't like the story to be connected in the way that it actually traces. This is just the breadcrumbs. So it's everything that you're saying about this fourth phase of water and creating an environment. I'm a protein expression. All my proteins are going to fold properly when they're in this fourth phase of gel-like water. And this is the water the body makes, from my understanding of the science. And this is why we feel a little better when we include things like Brown's gas in the world. But the big thing I'm hearing you say, this is not a property of molecular hydrogen. They're different. I honestly think people could save themselves a lot of heartache and stop comparing them. I think you look at Brown's gas devices, and I think you look at hydrogen, and I think you save yourself a little bit of headache. They're very different.
Yes. I tell this, I figure it this way. You need three things to be healthy. You need nutrition, you need energy, and you need intelligence. The body has the intelligence that it needs. The body, we haven't even scratched the surface of the intelligence in the body. So it knows how to heal. As far as the energy goes, this is what the electrically expanded water does. It provides energy. Hydrogen itself is like a building block or a brick. We are 62% hydrogen by volume. It's our most important macronutrient. There's nothing in our body that even comes close to the volume of hydrogen. So we need to have hydrogen. It is either directly or indirectly involved in every chemical process in the body, as well as the building structure of the body, the hydrocarbons that actually make up us. So hydrogen is important, but it does nothing without energy. If you consider hydrogen like a building brick for a brick house, it does nothing by itself. It needs energy, somebody to pick it up and move it. The intelligence moves it, the energy provides the movement. So you need those three things. And so the body has the intelligence, the Brown's gas has both energy and the and nutrition, which is what the body needs when it isn't in a healthy state, because our energy reserves are often depleted. And
That's
so
right.
you get into a upward spiral because so many people are in a downward spiral. It's amazing how this exacerbates that, and it gets this, it's worse and worse as you go down. Well, now we start an upward spiral, and then eventually the body's energy generation systems come back online, and you just do better and better. There's athletes out there that are saying so many good things about Brown's gas because it increases their reaction speeds, their strength, their ability to heal quickly, their cognitive ability, all these things. The Brown's gas increases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, phenomenal. We got to get some machines over to the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, we do.
I'm obviously a huge Bills fan, but man, it's been one of those years, and I love sport. I love football. It's been one of those years where you watch everybody play, and the injuries are. I feel like I've never seen a season with so many injuries across all the teams. Right? It's like they're in 2 weeks, they're out. We tore a calf, we hurt a thumb. It's a violent game. But I'm always wanting. I was like, man, I wish people had the resources or some of the technology. I would just love to see. I'd love to see if we could pick one NFL team and just you guys go all in. We're going to get you lymphatic drainage suits. We're going to get you nano bubbled oxygen. We're going to have a Brown's gas nebulizer on every recovery table and just see. It wouldn't be an expensive experiment compared to what these teams pay. It's literally pennies in a bucket. It'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, that's
Let's put that out
absolutely
there.
true.
Let's put that out
Yep.
there. George, I want to get in our time today. I want to get in the conversation around the bubbler because one thing I've been through. Go back to episode 1. The AquaCure is a device that operates. You're going to use an electrolyte solution, which in this machine is lye. And every 100 hours or so, I go through a process, and I always have to be reminded. I pull up the video, how to clean my machine, how to change out the electrolyte, and I've got a couple backup jars. I just did it again last week. Really easy to do, but it's a little bit of a fun. If you're a scientist, citizen scientist, you're going to absolutely love it. So I go through this process of changing over the electrolyte solution, and I think I'm through 2 or 3 cycles now. I primarily use it as a breathable gas. I don't drink the water that much. I just breathe it because it's really easy for me to pop on a cannula when I'm on a computer. And so I find most things, again, as a technology, hoarder, for lack of a better word, I use the things that are available to me in workflow. There's only so much time in the day, and you really don't want to be plugged into a device. But if I'm writing emails or I'm working, I'm like, well, why not use the electronically expanded water and the hydrogen? It's a no-brainer. You just came out with, or I just heard about, a device that allows me to bubble my Brown's gas into the bathtub. So I'm getting this electronically expanded water into the tub. And I have I think we may have talked about this via the cancer, I had a big lipoma removed from my arm about a year and a half ago. I got a great scar over here. I got this huge one on my belly. So I'm 2 weeks in, and I'm gonna just take, I have some initial pictures. I want to see what these scars do over time, because they're big, right? I should see some movement in these. But I'm doing this new application. Can you tell us a little bit about what that bubbler is doing? And did you make a lot of noise about it when you launched it, or just kind of put it out there?
No, we just did a soft launch. Yeah,
Yeah,
my wife would like to make a lot more noise, and my affiliates have been telling me to, but I just anyway soft launch. So it goes like this, and we're introducing it kind of now, even as far as that goes,
yeah,
more than just the soft launch kind of thing. Brown's gas could always be bubbled into water using the little bubbling stone.
that's right.
And but if you think of the water molecules, they're obviously very flexible, but they have little tiny air gaps in between them. Just little tiny. Any volume of water can absorb a certain amount of gases, and depending on the partial gas laws and the gases introduced, generally water has oxygen, nitrogen from the atmosphere already entrained in it. And if you put in Brown's gas, it'll kind of drive those other gases out and fill those spots with the Brown's gas. So your oxygen and your hydrogen and your electrically expanded water can go in there. But there's only just a certain amount that can be held there. Oh, by the way, there's these people that love infusing CO2 into their water, which I love too. It's great. But as soon as you do that, you drive out all the hydrogen. So you can't do
Yes.
the both at the same time. All right. So
CO2 tolerance breathing. That's one of the things in our course that we do. It's an
yes,
excellent hack for immediate energy in your brain.
yes, I'm hearing that. I haven't done that myself. I find that the Brown's gas does a good job, but like I don't drink coffee or anything, and I can just
Yeah.
go for hours and hours with the Brown's gas. But I am hearing good things about the CO2 treatments as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the water, um, how do you get more gas in there? Is big bubbles. But if the bubbles are too big, they will just immediately rise to the surface of the water, pop out, and be gone. Just that. So what we did, we were experimenting with for quite a period of time, was making a micro nano bubbler. I call it the micro bubbler, generally speaking, but it makes some nano bubbles as well. The difference is that nano bubbles are usually under 50 microns in size, and micro bubbles are under 200 microns. In any case, the micro bubbles look like a fog when you put it in the water. You've seen that yourself by now.
I have,
And
yeah.
and if you let that
Wait, I
fog
have to tell you this story quick. A friend of mine sent me a picture of his bubbler, and it was making these big bloop 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 big bubbles, and I was like, "You're not, you've not hooked up the machine correctly." And he was like,
no,
"Oh, the tubes are backwards." And so he did it, and then he got the gray. You kind of see this gray floating fog move through your bubbles, through your
yeah,
bath water, and you can't
right,
see in the tub anymore.
right.
Anyways, sorry to interrupt.
No, perfect, perfect. So you get this fog in the water, and that's the micro bubbles. If you let the fog dissipate, because eventually over a few minutes time, I don't know, half an hour or something, those will go out of the water, and if you shine a laser like a cat toy, like you play, or a
Mm-hmm.
laser pointer for demonstrations and stuff, you shine
Mm-hmm.
that in the water, you'll see the nano bubbles, nano bubbles. You can't see with the eye. The water will look clear, but if you shine a laser through, you can see the nanobubbles. So that's just a couple of hints as to see it and be able to tell the difference between these and other types of ones. There's one out there it's doing oxygen therapies now, making kind of a wave on that using supposedly micro bubbles, but the bubbles are way too big. They're just bubbling out of the water, and yes, there will be some micro and nano bubbles in there, but nothing like our machine is doing. So what you do is even the micro bubbles, which are 50 microns or smaller, are still hugely bigger, 100 times bigger than those little tiny spaces in between the water molecules. So even that is giving immensely more. So we'll just take a figure out of the air and say 100 times more Brown's gas in the water with the micro bubbler than you possibly could get just by bubbling the Brown's gas in the water and getting into the spaces between the molecules. So now that you have that much more, in this particular case, it is true that more is more therapeutically effective than less, and you can't get essentially too much, because any that is more than the water can hold is just going to dissipate out into the air anyway, which incidentally makes the air more therapeutically healthful. So you win every which way it is. In any case, my wife, who used to be a rock climber, was I think I told you the story, but for your audience,
Yes,
so
tell
she had
me.
lots of scars on the fronts of her legs, and she was. I think it was a matter of weeks. It took months to a year or more just for the inhalation for my body to heal from the inside out. But this healing of her scars, it was a very short time, and her all her rock scars were from rock climbing were gone. But she bathes 2 or 3 times a day in it. She loves the micro bubbler.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I've noticed the tingle. And I probably the same machine we're talking about, George, or you alluded to. There's a device. Is it you're talking about the Bimini?
That's one.
The Bimini. So I have a Bimini, and I've talked about this a lot on the show. It was again, it all goes back to experience. It was the one thing to truly transform my sleep. I'm at 57 days in a row of a 93 to 100 sleep score. And I'm a problem sleeper, always have been. Um, but it's oxygen. And so keep telling, I'm like, the oxygen is different than brown scat. They're all different properties. But if you're in a severe sympathetic dominance and your microcapillaries are compromised from mold and Lyme, you're going to notice a difference in the tension index from that oxygen finally getting to the tissue. And you just said the other way we could do it, we could infuse CO2 into the body. And we're going to have CO2 work as this lever to allow this push catch of oxygen delivery. That's another method. And then we have, again, this electronically expanded water, which I think just you always got to go try things, and you have to see how your body responds. It's the best way. It's the best way. But it's really, I'm always reminded, the science is so strong on easy water, the hydrophilic nature of tissues as they exist, and this electron donorship conversation. However, if we get into searching the available science, it's very weak. You know what I mean? It's not there. People are always, go do a deep PubMed. It's going to say, this is the mixture of hydrogen. This is this. Brown gas is alternative health. And I just have to say, I've done the plant experiment with giving my plants my Brown's gas water, and then my normal plant, the Brown's gas water is incredible, the growth. It's incredible. You can't deny it. We sort of are plants, right?
Yeah.
We convert light to energy, and we need water, and we need minerals, and we have this, hydrophilic nature of our microcapillary system. I just notice it. And I always tell people, I'm like, there is the available science, or settled science, if you will. And then there's this things that just haven't been looked at in the realm of health. I'm going to offer people two things if you're a skeptic. You have a 1 year return policy on the AquaCure. No other device does that in the world, in the health space. They don't do it. I think that's really impressive. And I have lots of friends that have gotten devices, and they love it. It runs forever. It's easy to use. It's serviceable. And now we've got this other cool applications on it. I just want to keep that in the conversation. I don't know, George, are people doing research and continued examination of Brown's gas alone?
That's a good question. And generally, the research has skewed over to pure hydrogen for the time being. In the
Yeah.
very beginning, it was kind of let's say 25% was Brown's gas,
Yep.
and then 75% was pure hydrogen. But the the permanent electrolyte membranes, PEM technology, SPE, solid polymer electrolyte, um, pretty much has dominated the electrolyzer field because it's so simple to build, quite frankly, and it's easy to maintain. So there's people out there that don't want to go through the extra maintenance of maintaining a Brown's gas machine where you have to dump out the electrolyte to get rid of and clean it to get rid of the sludge and stuff. Um, there's none of that with the pure hydrogen machines. They they just simply they have that solid polymer electrolyte instead of lye, and and you put in distilled water. Be sure to put in distilled water in all electrolyzers, Brown's gas and the other pure ones, but especially with those pure ones, because if you put it in with Brown's gas, it just makes more sludge and maybe some plating out on the electrodes or something. Doesn't really hurt the machine, but in those solid polymer electrolyte SPE or PEM machines, if you
Hmm.
put anything but the purest distilled water in there, the impurities plug up that membrane really fast.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep it lasting for the 2 or 3 or 4 years that they're certified for, you definitely want to use as pure distilled water as possible. But even in the Brown's gas machine, you want to use as pure distilled water as possible, because essentially what you put in is what you get out. And if you put in impure water, your gases coming out are not going to be as pure as they otherwise could be.
Yeah.
So,
And important. And again, that's this is built into the solution of this device. That's that cleaning. That's why it's important. That's why
right.
we have a maintenance cycle. But all my friends, Luke Story still uses his AquaCure. He has all the devices in the world. He still uses it. My buddy Nick Urban here in town loves it. And he has, we get to try things. We get to try stuff all the time. I have a discernible, I can feel it. And I tell people that like molecular hydrogen, 100%, I have a bottle. I use it every day. I believe in its selective antioxidant capabilities, and especially when I'm traveling on a plane, we're exposed to DNA damage all day. So I use that therapy. But this is, from my experience, this is one where people say, "Oh, I feel good," and I don't think. Is there a reason why hydrogen doesn't cause a discernible shift sometimes?
Um, it comes back down to the energy. The
Yeah,
hydrogen itself doesn't do anything. It doesn't react with anything.
yeah,
It takes it, like even with oxygen, it's the oxygen doing the reaction. If you put hydrogen with some other relatively inert thing, it just doesn't do anything. It's that brick that I was talking about. So it can be oxidized with oxygen, and then you get the energy. But also those electrons in there, they make the difference. They provide the fuel to make things happen.
make energy. Yeah, and I want to go back to this for everybody too. Is just, if you guys listen to this podcast and go out and start exploring, you can hear George, your story, the what I want to say, your pain to power story is incredible. Your mission to bring this to the world, that's all in episode. The first one we did, I think it's 141, back in 2022. Everybody go check that out. But you're going to hear this, you're going to see, from my experience, I always hear people say, I'm really happy with the device. I'm happy with the service. If anything ever goes wrong, there's good reviews. And you guys are all over the world. I had a woman ask me yesterday, she's like, can I get this in New Zealand? Can she?
Oh, yeah. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
doesn't
We'll
matter.
ship to Antarctica. It's
Great.
no problem.
Great. You can get it. You can get it in New Zealand. That was one thing somebody had just asked me about. And the other thing that I just want to mention before we go about the microbubbler is that you could bubble. What I like about it is, someone who is a citizen scientist, if I want to bubble CO2 in my tub, I can.
It's
If I
true.
want to
You can
bubble
bubble pure
hydrogen, I can
oxygen.
bubble. I can add an oxygen concentrator. I could bubble anything in.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It does. It does. It takes a gas from wherever and infuses those as microbubbles into the water. Yes. So
awesome.
ordinarily, if you just turn it on, it'll infuse just regular air, oxygen, hydrogen, or sorry, nitrogen mixture
Yep.
into the water. But yeah, you can feed it with anything. Yes.
So fun. Now let me ask you this: are there any other add-ons or inventions or tweaks that we're going to make to the AquaCure that'll
Yes.
come? Let me say this too. I want to tell everybody, you're good about adding to the machine. Like, I got like a torch. Like, I have this Brown's gas. I could weld with my device,
Yes.
or it goes into the bubbler. I haven't had to buy a new machine.
Right. So our machines are designed right from the very beginning to support add-ons that we intended to put in right from the beginning. And this microbubbler was one of them. Another one is what we're calling the deuterium-depleted water system. And that is a fad that's going on out there as well. Now, I'm saying fad, but it's again another modality, a healing modality, because we are literally getting too much deuterium in our bodies. And I don't know how much time we have for talking about deuterium, but let's just simply say if you have too much, it tends to shut the body's metabolism down, just like heavy water. That's because that's what it is. Heavy water shuts down nuclear reactors. You or mitigates the energetic. So to get the person's metabolism coming back up again, you have to get rid of the excess deuterium, and the body does get rid of it over time. So if you could just simply stop ingesting deuterium, they've discovered, so if you get deuterium depleted water when you're drinking and eat foods that have low deuterium levels, particularly foods that have been grown with low deuterium water, um, if you're growing your own gardens and stuff, then and the Brown's gas can help with that, as we've already pointed out. People with orchards and stuff, if you're doing the Brown's gas, you can get amazing growth. It grows much faster. The fruits are much better and everything like that. Back to the DDW. So, but DDW can cost you $1,000 to $1,500 a month just to if you're buying enough to make a difference, a serious difference. And the AquaCure with this attachment that we've already proven scientifically can work. We're just kind of working out the mechanics of getting something that's commercial. It in some cases was showing immeasurable, okay, not measurable amounts of deuterium, and you cannot get deuterium depleted water out there that pure, and you can make it in your own with the AquaCure with these condensing apparatus that would be going with it. So that torch, we put it out with every single machine, not only so you could attach it and weld metals and do all sorts of fun things with a little micro torch, but we include it because it's an integral part of the deuterium depleted water system. So that $150 addition that we give as a bonus, now when you get the deuterium depleted water condensing apparatus, you'll be able to shoot the Brown's gas flame into it, and the condensed water, because you're taking hydrogen and oxygen, which is straight H2 and O2, not D2, which would be deuterium, because that tends to stay in the electrolyzer. Okay, so the water that's coming out, when you combine that hydrogen and oxygen in the flame, it makes steam, and the steam condenses, makes this deuterium depleted water, or in some cases I call it deuterium deleted water. And so that is an additional modality. It's the number 5. Remember I said there's 4 modalities now? Well, that's number 5. That every AquaCure that's ever been made has this capability of safely making the Brown's gas steam, if you will, that can be condensed into DDW. So that is another modality that will really help people have their bodies come back to life and regain metabolism that they had lost.
Amazing. Well, when that is launched, we got to do a show about it. And we've done a show on deuterium depleted water, and if you guys really want to blow your minds, I think there's a really big study on pets and cancer using DDW. And this is another thing. There's like some really cool science, and there's a Deuterium Depletion Centers of America in LA who does research around DDW water. So really, really fun, George. I always feel like these are the mad scientist podcasts that we do, and they're exciting, they're edgy. Love what you're doing, and thank you for taking the time this morning. Really appreciate it.
I really have fun, and I really appreciate and thank you for providing these platforms where people can learn about this stuff.
That's right. And if you guys want to go, George's site is eagle-research.com. And you can use code Beautifully Broken. There's a discount on the Brown's gas system, the AquaCure. And you could just go in there, you can jump into the cart. It's a great opportunity as we're going into Christmas. We'll get this show right out. Awesome gift. Gift for somebody.
It's really important to go right away and take advantage of this whenever you're hearing this podcast. Until December 15th of 2025, the normally 5% coupon, Beautifully Broken, is 25%.
Oh my God, we'll get this right out on Monday.
Yes. So
I'll
it's
flip schedule. We'll get this right out.
okay. So we could help a lot more people because yes, it is. But then also after December 15th, the price is going to go from its normal $24.99 to $27.99. We have to increase the price of the AquaCure. We've held it since 2017. We've held the price to essentially $2,500, and we have some inventory we're selling right now that was assembled with the lower price product components and labor and all that. But the prices of everything have increased, and we have to pay people more because the prices of everything has increased.
Yeah.
So that and so we're going to have to raise the price after December 15th. So do get that 25% off and get in there right away. And
Very,
there's a
very
1 year
good.
satisfaction guarantee. So you're giving the gift of health for Christmas. What more can you say?
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I love it. Thank you, George. Really appreciate your time. Big love.